The newest movie in Disney's lineup featured more than just the stars of the old Rescue Rangers show. This film had a large expanded universe, filled with 2D and 3D characters from a variety of franchises all trying for their moment in the sun.
I totally thought we were busted, but then you just fully went for it!
Between the former stars looking for another 15 minutes of fame and the Uncanny Valley running the back alleys, no one in this world was quite as they appeared. But which relationships in this movie were good ones and which ones were just downright toxic? I'm Caleb with Wicked Binge, and this is Chip and Dale Rescue Rangers Healthy to Toxic. We'll be starting off our ranking with the most healthy and slowly working our way down to the most toxic. These characters have the honor of being ranked most healthy. The gold medal of healthiness goes to Gadget and Zipper. Gadget and Zipper were shown to be an ideal couple. After the cancellation of Rescue Rangers, they focused on building a home and family together. Though they chose a different path from their former co-stars, Gadget and Zipper still stayed close enough to offer support. They had been involved in aiding in Dale's independent films and didn't hesitate to offer help to save Chip. They knew when to step back to assure their own safety since they still had kids to think about rather than rushing into danger. The silver medal goes to the infamous duo Chip and Dale. These two were amazingly in sync with each other even after years of being apart. Yes, they had their own approaches to problems, but they knew where the other shined and where they needed help. As kids, they had shared a love of comedy and bonded over wanting to entertain people. Even after they had gone separate ways, there was a level of civility between them. They didn't try to make their friends choose between them, and it was implied that Chip never really explained the conflict he and Dale went through when Dale initially announced he was going to do 00 Dale.
The biggest risk is not picking any risk at all.
When it was revealed that Monty was kidnapped by the Valley Gang, they were quick to team up and find clues in order to find Sweet Pete's bootleg operation. The only time tension really came up between these two was when they failed in communicating. Dale had wanted to be appreciated more, but wasn't sure how to go about expressing that, which led him to trying to branch out to his own career path. Chip refused to talk about how Dale's leaving affected him, leading to the two of them lashing out at one another when Dale was once again placing his career above everything else when posting at the police station. Despite the misunderstandings between them, they put aside their argument when they recognized the smell of Monty's cologne and quickly fled to make a plan. Winning the bronze medal goes to the team-up of Ellie, Chip, and Dale. Chip and Dale were already a great team even though they had a bit of turmoil in the past. Adding Ellie to their efforts to find Monty made them even more formidable. Ellie had broken regulation due to her trust in Chip and Dale being crucial to solving the case. She was willing to place her entire career at risk in order to find Sweet Pete and keep any more characters from being bootlegged. When they were captured, Ellie could have done the cliche thing and begged for Dale to stay away, determined to find a way out on her own. Instead, she trusted Dale enough to subtly give him a message that would help him figure out how to rescue them.
When you fish upon a star, that's my favorite episode.
Though Dale had an odd way of working out the message, he did manage to understand that his friends were in trouble before recruiting Gadget and Zipper. We've now reached the middle ground. These characters aren't horrible, but they definitely have their own issues for one reason or another. This is the gray area. Taking the first ranking in this section is Lumiere, Tigra, and Dale. They had grown attached to Dale over the years of attending conventions and getting to know one another. They had offered Dale advice on giving up on a reboot and inviting Chip to be involved in the panels in order to draw in more fans for his booth. When they saw that Chip and Dale were being followed by the Valley Gang, Lumiere and Tigra placed their own safety at risk to help Dale and Chip escape. Next up, we have another trio featured, Chip, Dale, and Monty. After the cancellation of Rescue Rangers, they didn't stay in touch like Dale and Monty had with Gadget and Zipper. While Gadget and Zipper were working on their family and Chip and Dale were trying to pursue their career paths, Monty fell into a life revolving around his addiction to cheese. He spiraled further and further down until he wound up owing money to one of the most dangerous gangs in the area.
And if I can't pay up, they're gonna bootleg me.
Knowing he was out of luck and was unable to tackle his problems alone, Monty finally reached out to Chip and Dale for help. Though they hadn't been especially close since the ending of the show, Monty still trusted them to help keep him safe and aid him in getting help for his obsession with stinky cheese. In the final scenes of the film, Monty approached Chip and Dale with relief and appreciation. Yes, he had been kidnapped and bootlegged, but his friends hadn't given up on finding him. That goes to show you how deeply their bond went even after all those years of radio silence. The following ranking goes to the team-up of Jimmy the Polar Bear and Bob the Warrior. Both being Uncanny Valley characters, Jimmy and Bob fell into the bootlegging business as there weren't really any other opportunities for them. Though Bob was the more capable henchman of the two of them, he was relatively civil to Jimmy. Most henchmen in animated or family films follow a dynamic of one seeing themselves as superior to the other, often using the other as a punching bag. That wasn't the case with Jimmy and Bob. Yes, Jimmy was more focused on being a fanboy when he ran into Baloo, and yes, Bob had been the one to connect the dots that the rats were actually Chip and Dale in disguise, but for the most part, these two were on even footing. Following is Ugly Sonic with the convention attendees. Ugly Sonic was clearly mistreated by the people that came by his panel. Due to his human teeth and other off-putting features, several people were seen walking around Ugly Sonic's booth, snickering at him. Ugly Sonic had attempted to go along with all of it, claiming that being a part of the joke kept him from being the butt of all their mockery.
I know that. You can't hurt my feelings if I'm in on the joke.
Knowing all this, it was no surprise that he was reluctant to help Chip and Dale and had a strained relationship with the other characters with panels. He did end up coming through for them and rallied the FBI to swarm Sweet Pete's, but only when it was convenient for him. The next spot goes to the interactions between DJ Hasnagura, Chip, and Dale. Hasnagura is very self-absorbed. Like many in this movie, he was looking for fame, even if it meant using others to build up his platform. The first thing he did upon coming across Chip and Dale in the locker room was to pester them about rapping so he could record it for his own social media. We also have to mention the brief interaction between Sweet Pete and Chubby. Chubby was a former member of the Lost Boys, and so when he was picked up by Jimmy the Polar Bear, he greets Sweet Pete with familiarity rather than fear. Seeing Pete in his old getup, but instead older and out of shape, Chubby's first response was to ask what happened to his old friend. Sweet Pete, rather than being vicious about the fact that Chubby was able to stay young, simply gave a nihilistic response about death.
Yeah, death is coming for us all, kid.
Finally, we've reached the bottom of our list. This section covers the most toxic characters in the movie. Next, we have to mention the dynamic between Chip, Dale, and Bob the Warrior. When Bob met Chip and Dale and gave them a tour of the facility, he was fairly civil and cracked jokes with them. He was polite while explaining Sweet Pete's regular operations. Sure, he carelessly tossed them into Sweet Pete's office, but he wasn't exactly ordered to be friendly. He didn't become brutal until the end of the film, when he chased after Chip and Dale while brandishing his axe. Without any regard for anyone else at the convention, Bob slashed and rampaged in an effort to grab the two for his boss, knowing full well what would happen to them once they were in Sweet Pete's care. In the end, he was set ablaze and arrested for his violent outburst. Following is Sweet Pete and his henchmen, Jimmy and Bob. We already mentioned how henchmen are usually abusive to one another to get the satisfaction of a power trip. The same runs true for bosses towards their lackeys, which made how Sweet Pete interacted with Jimmy and Bob pretty surprising. He didn't really smack them around or degrade them. Yeah, that's the bare minimum, which is why this odd connection is so low on our list, but it was an interesting thing to note. Of course, Sweet Pete's business is his first priority, so it wasn't a shock when he left Bob behind to be arrested, only taking Jimmy back to the hideout. The bronze medal of most toxic relationship goes to Bjornsson and his clients. Bjornsson's motivation was money and protection. Being involved with Sweet Pete and the Uncanny Valley gang, he was nearly untouchable so long as he kept luring Toons to get addicted to the stinky cheese.
My boss, Sweet Pete, he loves actors.
Bjornsson had zero remorse knowing that the Toons that fell into debt would be bootlegged. He was only interested in staying in the same comfortable life he had been enjoying. The silver medal of most toxic is going home with Sweet Pete, Chip, and Dale. Sweet Pete made his intentions clear, so at least we can give him credit for not being two-faced. He laid out his entire bootlegging operation and explained why he fell into the business. Sweet Pete had laid out all his cards on the table, declaring he wanted to use Chip and Dale for a reboot in order to tap into the influx of reboots coming out onto the market. Not only did that mean he would get some money out of the Chipmunks, but it would keep them from investigating into where Monterey Jack went. The gold medal of most toxic goes to Captain Putty and Officer Ellie. Putty was another uncaring ally to Sweet Pete, going against his oath to protect the public in order to get money funneled to him from Sweet Pete. On top of his desire to get as much cash as possible from the suffering and sales of innocent characters, Putty also went out of his way to torment Ellie. He put in a fake tip to destroy her credibility with the other officers and brought up the failed case any chance he could get to further rip into her now fragile self-esteem.
Why don't you just leave the real detective work to me, okay?
When he was revealed to be working for Sweet Pete, he couldn't even come up with a fake sob story to gain sympathy, gaining too much joy in outsmarting Ellie and the Chipmunks. When Ellie fought against him, Putty was clearly enjoying himself while attacking her, a grin clear on his face the entire time. Well, up until Ellie froze him in place and he knew he was caught. But let us know in the comments section if you agree with our ranking, and tell us what we should cover next. Remember to hit that notification bell and binge more of our videos. But most importantly, stay wicked.